staring at it for 2 solid years. Dad, I know I haven't talked to you much about what happened there. You wouldn't believe most of it. No one does. I thought I'd be totally freaked out by it, but I wasn't. As a matter of fact, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was the most exciting thing that ever happened to me.
Welcome, beloved people of the interwebs. Thank you for checking out Two Guys and Some Horror. Tonight I am joined with my forever friend, Mr. Curtis. Hi, Curtis. How are you?
Hey, Clark. I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, you know me. I'm doing fantastic. Curtis, do you know what we're talking about today?
I do, and I'm excited.
We're talking about demons. Demons, man.
Yeah.
Who needs chicks when you have demons? Now, that it's not the movie Demons. I'm sorry, folks. It's Gate 2.
It's Gate 2! The Trespasser.
The Trespassers, right. The sequel to the original Gate. Now, what does this movie have to do with the original Gate? I bet you're wondering. Not much. Not much at all, aside from the demons. It's one of the demons that they had the suit from in the original, and it has the same actor, but everything is kind of different with what's going on. Curtis, I kind of want your input here. What are your first thoughts when you kind of like saw this movie?
So this is the first time I've seen it.
Yeah.
In fact, this is the first time I've seen both of these movies ever. So the fact that we're doing both those movies in the same year is actually quite interesting, since I've gone 31 years of my life without seeing either of them, and now I've seen both. But initial thoughts are Gate is a great movie. It's a really great coming of age tale. But Gate 2 to me is, I don't know, I think I like it better than Gate, personally. Yeah.
Okay.
I like the
Why
idea.
is that?
I like the idea of trying to recover. Like Terry's trying to recover his life after the craziness that ensued in the first film, and he has that very emotional open to the film, and he's telling his dad about what happened and how he has to go back. And I mean, I don't know. Just so the listeners know, his dad's like drunk as a skunk, passed out watching the ball game. But
Even
nevertheless,
going further,
Terry,
even going further behind that, like his dad lost his job and became an alcoholic because of that, and or he was an alcoholic, I don't know, but he had a gun in his mouth, and Terry wanted to help his dad out, and he basically researched into how to utilize the demons for himself, how to use their power for good.
Yeah, basically he says the past 2 years he's looked at, his best friend Glenn's house, and he's really gotten into demonology and trying to understand like what you can do with it, and the ways that you could use the demons, right? And that to me right there is just, I know your initial opinion is that there isn't a lot of connection there between this film and the first film, and that's pretty much accurate, other than I think it's that first 5-10 minutes of the movie is a great segue, taking you from one and letting you know this is not a direct, sequel to it, in the sense that we're going to see all those things happen again, or like a true sequel would. It's going to be its own standalone film.
And it definitely is. They didn't have to put anything in connecting to the first film at all to make this what it is. In fact, this movie did not do very well. I want to get into the numbers a little bit here before we kind of get a little bit further in the plot. This movie had a budget about $6.5 million, and its opening weekend was about $1.1 million, and its gross was about $2 million. So they lost about $4 million overall on this film. And honestly, I can kind of see why, and I could talk about that later. But this film has several kind of plots and subplots that you don't really. It kind of leads to an ending, but it just kind of goes there in the last 30 minutes.
Oh, you can say less than that.
Well, sure, but the transformation sequence, which we'll kind of talk about in a bit. The main character, Larry, right?
Terry.
Yeah, Larry. Uh, what did he
Okay,
say?
Mo, calm down,
Oh,
Mo.
it's not it's not a well, I don't want to. It rhymes with Daggett name,
Yeah,
but
we don't
an
use those
asshole's
words.
name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. uh, well, this was made in the '90s, so you
Actually, it was
know.
made in '88.
Really, I thought it came out in '92.
It came out in '90
Okay.
in Europe, and then and I love it because before the show, I was like, yeah, I didn't do any research. I really didn't. This was like knowledge that I saw on the like on the web. First of all, let me just talk about how hard it was to try and find a legal way to watch this movie.
Oh man,
You and I talked about this in chat, and I
yeah,
absolutely cannot believe how hard it was to find somewhere legal to watch this.
yeah. So this came out in 1992 in the United States, February
Yes,
28th. Uh, if this was made in
it
'88,
was made in '88 and sat on the
then Mr.
shelves.
Lewis Tripp had a very strong growth spurt within that year because he has grown pretty big.
Yeah, he has. But it was made in '88, sat on shelves for what the article says is several years, but it was a few
Yeah.
years. Got released in 1990 across the pond. Didn't have a great turnout there either. Then came back 2 years later. Got released in the U.S. and didn't do so hot here either. So
Oh
backing up
yeah.
your numbers, it really didn't do well. But it also is not. Oh man,
I
it's
didn't
just
even know this movie existed, to be blunt, until like years ago. And I looked into it and I watched it, and I had I have false memories about it, obviously, because I just rewatched it today. Uh, I want to talk about that later too. But well, yeah, you're right, Johnny. Going back to what you were saying, there's no streaming site for this. It's not available on Prime. You can't even buy it for to watch on streaming. The only way to really watch this movie legally is to purchase it.
Mhm.
Purchase a Blu-ray or a DVD, which I don't think they sell DVDs anymore, but I couldn't find a digital copy anywhere. So if you want to watch this movie and support the creators, the best thing you do is just buy a Blu-ray.
And there's a really awesome copy of it on Screen Factory, which I highly support buying your Blu-rays and or DVDs from their site. It's Shout Factory, but there's a Scream section just for horror,
Yeah,
and they have tons of. I just bought Hell Night from them not too long ago, and the bonus footage you get, the archival footage where they restore it into a clear HD version is amazing. So
hashtag not sponsored.
check, yeah, not sponsored, but check it out. It's worth it, and they're pretty cheap. I think the gate's only like $18 on there on Blu-ray, and it's well worth the buy. So,
They only have
um,
one right now, so
yeah,
at the moment we're recording this, so you might get the last copy in existence.
get it.
There you go. Uh, yeah, I think
Back to the numbers.
yeah, well, there's not really a whole lot to talk about aside from that.
Sure.
This movie was rated R in Canada. I don't know if it was rated R here, but there's alcohol use, there's things like that. But I really felt like this was an episode of How Are You Afraid of the Dark? In terms of kind of like it starts out with a monkey paw, like you get a monkey's paw episode, then you get a little demon, uh, kind of in the segue, and then you get like a demon transformation to the final conflict situation. It was very, very interesting. But I don't know, man. Who do you
I'm
think?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to ask you who you thought the hero of the film was.
Um, I mean, you're led to believe Terry throughout most of the film, but I think
Mhm.
Liz plays a very large part in
Right.
saving the day, right? Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, spoiler alert, Liz has to do all the work at the very end of the film. And I mean, if we want to talk about that scene now, I'm more than well okay doing that.
It's up to you, man. I think I just kind of wanted to go into like Liz is Bobby from King of the Hill. So Bobby from King of the Hill is the love interest. Terry Lewis Tripp, who we went into a very deep conversation in when we talked about the gate, because for some reason, I just dug into this guy's like past and history, and I even went further this time. And then you have Mo, who's basically one of the Three Stooges. He talks with a very fake Brooklyn accent, and his friend basically insults him all the time, and he always goes, You're right, man. I'm dumb. Lovable, lovable doofus. And then you have John, James Villamayer. Um, Mo's been in a lot of films, by the way, Curtis.
Okay.
I think Mo is probably the most successful actor of this film,
Lay it
and
on
you
me.
could
What's he
kind of
been
see
in?
that. He's been in quite a few things. I have to pull up his information, but he was in Saw 4, The Sentinel,
Okay.
Warehouse 13, as long as plenty of other films, and he's also in The Current Firm. Uh, he's in a lot of TV shows as well. I think he's more successful than Bobby Hill, the actress that played Bobby Hill, frankly. Um, he's had
Interesting.
work every year since I don't know, 1983,
I mean, he's
up
not a bad
till
actor.
2013. Oh, he hammed it up here though. He
I mean,
hammed it up.
I don't see how you can't as a young actor,
Yeah.
especially portraying a kid who has. Here's the deal, okay? Mo's my favorite character. I'm just gonna throw it at
Yeah.
you right now because
No, I expected that.
Mo, initially I was like, Terry's probably gonna be my favorite character because he's continued over from the first film, and I already kind of have this love for Terry's character. You and I both gushed over him in the first
Yeah,
episode.
he was my
with the
favorite
gate.
character in the first one too.
Yeah. And this time I feel bad for Mo, and I almost feel like Mo kind of just gets picked on the whole film, and he's this guy who's just trying to fit in, right? He
Well,
doesn't
He only has one friend.
he
And his
he
friend's
really
a dick.
yeah, I wouldn't even call that guy a friend, right? Like if I was Mo's dad, I'd be like, why are you hanging out with John? John's an asshole. Don't hang out with John.
The only guy that likes him because he's dumb and he's
And
got a
he'll
hole
just
in his
do
heart.
whatever. Well, and he'll do whatever John says. And you feel even more sorry for him because you find out that he's got a hole in his heart, which is, pretty devastating as a young kid. You're living your life and you're trying to make friends, and you've got this thing that you're dealing with on the inside as well. Like it can't
Right.
be easy, man. And he's always having to pop his pill because he's not supposed to get excited. And
It's his heart. He's
I
got
just
a hole in his heart.
I don't know. Yeah, he was definitely my favorite character. I love Mo, and
He-
I feel for him.
Yeah. He and John are always getting high though. Like you always see them smoking like a doobie.
He's
I-
getting peer pressured into getting.
No, he said, "Give me that."
I'm not supposed to. I don't want to do this while I'm at work. Not while I'm working. That's his excuse. He's trying to be nice and say no, thank you.
In the car, he's
Instead-
like, "Give me that."
Well, yeah, because later on he's already
Yeah.
high at that point.
Hey, maybe. He definitely acted. I liked him.
He
I liked
also
him.
he also wanted to clam bake the little minion, which I thought was a very
Oh,
very
yeah, well-
risky
Well, who
idea.
doesn't? Who wouldn't?
Don't clam bake your little minions, okay? Don't do it.
I gotta say, man, I don't think I have a favorite character in this film.
Okay, I mean
don't-
that's fine.
I don't. I kind of felt like I don't know. I didn't really get to know anyone. I didn't really feel like anyone had a personality, like beyond. It just felt like things just kind of happened, and then people just did things, and it kept changing. And we could kind of talk about that with like the very beginning of the film, like right at the start, like this kid, he goes into his friend's house and he has like this old word processor and he connects electrodes to a hamster to summon demons, and then he has like these lasers or these lights kind of connecting a circle.
Yeah, he's got
And
like a
then-
laser show creating his circle for summoning. I mean,
Right.
here's the deal. If I had been lucky enough to have seen this movie as a kid, man, this movie would have been in my repertoire for years. I would
Yeah.
have been showing this to friends all the time. It's
Mhm.
just for nostalgia purposes, I can watch this movie again and again and again. Like I don't know. I feel like this movie has a lot more to offer than whatever happened to it when it got released, right? Especially
It's made for teenagers, which I feel like this movie should not have been rated R, but I get why.
definitely not.
That's
worth
why
it.
it probably failed. Well, it's a Canadian R, which is basically PG-13 here.
Yeah, but it's a half
I'm not-
Canadian, half U.S. film, so the MPAA still has to rate it for here. and I'm
Right,
curious
which is
what
rated
it-
R here.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
But also, well, in the '90s, this is when rated R was a little less stringent. Like there's plenty of movies like Bully with Rick Moranis and who's the guy that married Tom Arnold. Like the two of them made a movie and it was rated R, but it shouldn't even be PG-13. It should be PG. I understand. Like it makes sense. Like that was before the MPAA really had solid ground to go off of with the R rating. It was still relatively new at that time, my understanding. Uh, but kind of digging in a little deeper, I kind of when we go back to he's saying this prayer, he's mumbling like half of the words he's saying to summon these demons, uh, and then he's like protect the traveler, and then he sees those the three Stooge characters, Bobby Hill or Liz, Mo, and John. And John's your typical asshole kind of bad boy punk kid who's got the girl that Terry, who is Terry's romantic interest, and Liz, who's into demonology, which makes her into Terry. And then you have Mo, our lovable, laughable goofball. Just not very smart, but he's there. He thinks this is cool. They're all there to kind of mess with Terry, or I don't know why they're there, but they show up and they help him summon the demons and make wishes.
So I think they're cruising, right? They're out in John's hot rod, the three of them, and they probably drove by the house and they could probably see the lights and something happening and decided to go check it out. That's the only guess I have because you don't see them outside of the house. You only see when they come in.
You only see their shadows, and he's thinking that they're the demonic trio or something.
Yeah, and John's even thinking like, or is it Mo or John who's like, "Come on, let's just go cruise or whatever." I think it's John.
It was John. John's like, "Let's leave this nerd. Let's go cruising." And Mo's like, "Come on, man, let's do some demon summoning. Let's make some wishes."
But my favorite quote is right here when Liz and John and all them are giving Terry crap, but Liz is straight up like, is this Satanism? And then she's like, no, it's demonology. And then so Terry says, and this is my favorite quote of the movie. He goes, yeah, it's demonology. Satanism's for pussies. And I was like, yes, that's great. That is a great way to put it. It's a really fun way of him, because Terry is supposed to be this outcast of a character where no one really gets along with him either. And it kind of sets him up where like, this girl, Liz, is totally into what he's doing, and he can kind of be on a pedestal a little bit and be like, yeah, that's totally what I'm doing. Come on, check it out. Come on in.
I liked the quote too. I'd send it to you.
You sent it to me, yeah.
This is demonology. Satanism's for pussies.
I mean, I sat for a while and I was like, man, really, what quote is the quote that I remember? It was this one, and then the other one, which is chicks. We don't. Yeah, exactly.
No, demons.
We don't need chicks. We got demons.
Who needs chicks when you got demons? Those. Yeah. I
love that one too.
Okay. So anyhow, for the audience, they make up some shit about this being like an ancient Sumerian religion in Canada, because Samaria and Canada are in the same place, and there's an ancient Sumerian temple underneath the or altar underneath the kid's house from Gate 1, which is why the gate's here at this household. And I wasn't thinking in 3 dimensions. Quote comes in later on. But they summon the demons, nothing happens, and Terry wants the wish to make his dad's life kind of get back together. He wants to have his dad to be happy. So his dad comes back the next day and he's like, "I got a job with the company that I got fired from. I'm a baggage claimer." And he's like, "What? You're a baggage claimer?" He's like disappointed. But one of the minions from the first movie shows up. He traps him. The girl shows up. They start burning things, making wishes. And
I still don't know why John shot the minion though. That really bothered me.
We can talk about that too. He's trying to save their lives. They fucked that up. They fucked up the demon summoning.
I'm just gonna say that right. Yeah.
They fucked it up. It's all John's fault. John's the reason this movie happens, I guess. John's the bad guy. Mo's the lovable idiot friend of the bad guy. Liz is the bad guy's girlfriend who isn't really into the boyfriend. She wants to find her true love, who is Terrence. And Terrence is just there.
And Terry is the only character you actually have any background understanding of.
If you see the first Gate, yeah.
No, even in the beginning of this movie, you get the sense that his mom died or is gone, right? She died. His dad's a struggling alcoholic who lost his job, and Terry wants to fix it. I mean, that's as well-rounded of a kid as you're going to get. I mean, what else does he have in life? He doesn't have a wife and kids.
You don't get the backstory for the first movie if you don't watch it. though.
You
The
do
only
miss
thing to
out
understand is
on a lot, sure.
that there is this small, like, little minion, and he has some sort of understanding something happened at this house, and the house is completely destroyed. Even though in the first Gate movie, completely just reassembles itself magically, but all the damage that was done in the first movie is there if you if you watch it, or I guess maybe the house just got trashed. Let's talk about the minion trapping, because they trap the minion, they catch it, they put it in a bird cage.
Terry puts it in the jar because he thinks it's dead and he's studying it, right? In the jar, in the like yellow goo liquid jar. But then
Yeah, it gets out.
it breaks out. He has to get on like all his sports gear, and then he has
puts
to
on hockey shit.
yeah, he has to fight him for a second, and then he gets him in the bird cage and gets him trapped, and the bird cage holds him.
No, none of the shit makes sense if you think about it. But let's talk about, they're making wishes off this demon. They burn things. They get her hot robbed. They get a bunch of gifts. They get a bunch of stuff. The kid wishes for his dad to get his life together. His dad like becomes a pilot. None of the baggage claim thing happens. I kind of want to rush through this, but and everything is literally turning to poop in the film. John finds out. He sees the kid driving on this poop car, and he's mad because his girlfriend's hanging out with this nerd, because nerd. And he beats the shit out of Terry and breaks in, steals the minion, starts making wishes. And that's where we kind of get into the meat of the film. Before we get into the meat of the film, I think, you know what, Curtis? I think it's time we take a break. And we're back, folks. Thank you for listening to our lovely mid-roll ad on what platform we use, I believe, at the moment. Anchor. It's so great. So, Curtis.
Yes, sir.
I feel like the first half is just like monkey's paw. That's all it is. You make a wish, everything turns to shit. The kid's dad ends up getting in an accident. He's in the hospital, and these kids are the bullies are out on a ride, right?
Yep.
They go to this fancy restaurant. They're paying with cash. Before they get in the restaurant, John gets bit by the demon, and I think Mo gets scratched.
Mm-hmm.
So
they both get their asses kicked in the car.
They both get, and John kills the little minion. He kills it. It's out of the film at this point. Does he? No, he doesn't kill it. He doesn't kill it. He just punches and beats the shit out of it and throws it in the trunk.
Yeah, and they put him back in the bag, beat his ass.
It breaks out the trunk. It's punching like. How did the birdcage hold that thing?
It's, story reasons.
Well, it's shaking the birdcage and it can't get out, but it's punching holes in the trunk of this solid metal car.
And it doesn't break the trunk, like in a sense of like there isn't a hole in the trunk. It just breaks open the trunk.
But it's popping these little. It should not be able to make the bumps it's making when you're when you're watching it try to escape.
Yeah. No.
But this is a kids movie. It's made for teenagers. It's not made for adults. It's an adolescent story. They go to this restaurant, they eat, and John goes to the bathroom.
Here's my favorite scene of the movie.
Really? I want you to talk about it then.
Yeah, so I absolutely love the dinner scene. So John and Mo go into this place after they coerce the demon into giving them a bunch of money. And they walk in, and like the way the scene starts out is so comical. The waiter comes up to the hostess and he's like, "Why did you sit those two people at my table?" And the guy turns to him, he's like, "What people?" And he goes, "You know damn well who I'm talking about." And then he goes, pulls out the money. He's got like $300 in cash, right? So then the waiter's like, "Oh, okay." And he's all smiling, all greedy like, and heads back over to the table. John and Mo are basically arguing with the wine server,
sommelier,
who is basically like, "No, I've given them the best bottles of wine we got. What do you mean this stuff's no good?
It's too fruity."
So then the server is like, "Okay, just get them whatever bottle of wine they want. I don't care." Takes their order for food. Escargots is what Mo orders, and then John's like, "I gotta go to the bathroom." Heads off to the bathroom, and then and I'll let you break down John's part because I think you'll have.
Most like, I told you not to eat all that sauce.
Yeah,
because this is like post dinner scene.
They do a really weird cut there because they go from ordering the food, cut, and then they're already like done
with
with
it.
the food. Yeah, it was a very
Well, there's
fast
a
cut.
transition. Well, before the transition, it goes to Terry and Liz, and there's kind of the sequence where they're finding out how to get rid of the demon with the ballerina box that was his mother's, and all the other things they need. And then we go back
three
to
lapis lazuli sticks.
the wheat grains, which none of that shit matters. But we go back to that's where we go back and they're done with the food, and then John goes to the bathroom because there's pus coming out of his face and he's gaining all these warts and he's transforming into a giant ass minion.
Yes.
In the first film, none of this stuff happens when they get bit or attacked by minions, and Terrence even says you can't transform because of a minion bite.
So he thought, yeah.
Well, maybe it has to do with the ritual. I don't know what their explanation is.
Could have to do with harming a minion as well.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. Whatever happens. And during this process, Mo is also kind of gaining like zits over his face. You notice him kind of like getting more and more
hideous and grotesque.
Well. Yeah, but not as much as John. John's like in the bathroom. One of the guys is like, "Are you okay in there?" He starts screaming, breaks through the wall instead of the door, jumps through a window. There's chaos in the restaurant, and Mo's like, Mo just runs. He just bolts out. Well, remember before we get that, before John goes in the bathroom. My favorite scene. Yes, he pulls out the money. He's like, he throws it down. And just poop splatters right there.
That's
and he's like,
where
and then he checks in his pocket. And there's poop in there.
That's where I was trying to get, and then I was gonna let you have the John part. But yes, the money turning to poop made me laugh so hard. And then he reaches into his pocket, and there's just more poop. And it's like we as viewers know this is gonna happen because Terry and Liz, the car, the Corvette that she got turned to shit. All the gifts turned to shit. Everything just literally turns to poop. And
how do you think they did that? Because that poop Corvette looked pretty good.
It's just beans. It's just beans.
You think it's just beans?
It just looks like black beans and a little bit of refried beans mixed together.
I thought it was just mud.
And then some spray, like maybe some gold spray paint on some of the stuff and red spray paint on others. And
for the car, because when the car's turning to shit, that looked really cool. So I don't think that was just beans, but
I mean, it could have been thicker beans. I don't know.
If you look outside, when they look outside and you see the car, like it just looked really cool.
Giant pile, yeah.
Well,
because remember all the gifts
that was transitioning into feces.
Yes, exactly. Because you can see the car like tires, I think, and then some of the gifts even, like the gift boxes. Because think of like beautifully wrapped Christmas presents. That's what they're driving around in the back of this Corvette for the night, and then the next morning, like you're saying, there's definitely more to it than just beans. In that case, it looks like a giant pile of manure, but wet, soggy, soppy poop. Oh man, it was good.
So Mo and John are out, wherever they are. John's dad's or Terry's dad's in the hospital, and there's like a funny dream sequence scene. Not funny, like dream sequence.
Definitely not funny.
With him seeing his dad crashing a plane, getting really drunk. I don't really want to talk too much about
Honestly,
that. I don't really want to.
If there's anything I didn't like about this movie, it's actually anything involving the dad. I feel like those were like our slower points in the movie, and they really weren't that needed to get the plot moving along. We could have cut all that out.
You could have cut a lot of this film out, to be frank, and focused on the transformation sequence, make things a little bit worse there. I'm going to skip like a bunch of crap here.
Do it.
I am.
Hey, Clark, can you hit the fast forward button real quick on the VHS player for me?
So, stuff happens. Stuff happens that lead to them. Mo falls down. His heart stops. He's dead. Giant demon minion man John takes his body and goes underneath where the gate is, and Terry and Liz follow them there. We see Mo there. Mo's like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" They're like, "You're dead." He's like, "No, I'm not." And then he opens up his stomach, revealing a demon body.
Oh, dude, and that buildup was awesome because he's just like, he's like having a conversation. He's like, John always said wishes were stupid and, you know, all that shit. And then he's like, hey guys, don't go anywhere. I got something to show you. It'll only take a second. And when he opens up his shirt, he's full on demon. It was like, yes, this is great.
That was good. And then, well, they catch the demon too. They put it in the box at this point. They go downstairs. There's the ancient Sumerian temple underneath. And they take Liz and they're like, it's great because you get a killer to Terry. And they give him the giant long fork. And she looks at him. There's some random fight sequence. His face is all deformed. And he's like fighting against it. He gets beaten up by giant minion John. And he comes back, I guess, completely transformed.
Yeah, at this point, his face is even transformed into Warriors of the Virtue kangaroo. Look that up if you don't know what I'm talking about. It looks just like it.
The three of these guys, I guess they're supposed to be the demon trinity or something.
Yeah, so you have to sacrifice 3 humans, and each one of... So, like, Terry was 1, John was 1, Mo was supposed to be 1. And the final act was to kill Liz, who's supposed to be the virgin. They try to explain it, but it's so broken when they're trying to explain it that it doesn't really matter. But that's the idea.
Yeah. I didn't get any. All I knew is that there was a sacrifice that they were trying to make, and she was supposed to be the sacrifice. And Terry fights against it. He fights it. He throws the giant fork right at John's forehead, and he takes the demon, says the prayer, throws it in the gate, closes the gate. He and the 3 of them, I guess, are dead because we zoom right back to a funeral scene.
And Liz is at the funeral with the father.
Yeah, and the father's fine.
And he's got a cane or a crutch type thing, yeah.
So, and everybody pops out of the fucking coffin like nothing happened.
Well, hold on. So Terry pops out first, and this is what I think is hilarious. He's knocking on it, and no one can hear him. He opens it up. He's like,
coffin.
What, you guys couldn't hear me? I couldn't breathe in there. Wait, what is this? This is my funeral? Oh, awesome, Dad. This is amazing. This is the best funeral ever. What's this coffin
really nice
made
coffin.
Out of? He's just totally hamming it up, man. That's.
But he screams and runs away, but the dad and girlfriend. And so, like, the 3 of them were, like, running off, their arms around each other. And then Mo comes out first. He's like, hey, I'm alive. And then John comes out, and he's like, derpy derp.
That was even funnier because when Mo's coming out, John's, like, right in his crotch. Like, like pushing him up on his shoulders kind of a thing. I'm like, Terry had a good 30-second lead, I guess, on them from climbing out of the hole they're in. I don't know. Oh, what a weird scene at the end. But it's like at the end of Gate, when everything goes back to normal, it's almost like the wishes got reset or you know what I mean? Everything bad that had happened had gotten reset. And in this one, they don't really do that. The wishes, like you said, it's like a very similar to like a monkey paw situation where, your wish is going to last and then it'll run out. And when it runs out, it turns to poop. And everything that's bad that's happened in the film, though, we don't know how much of it really has been reversed because the dad is still dealing with his injury.
Right.
And Lou and Terry, he was basically dead. So it's really interesting to see the difference in how Tibor and Michael, the writer, how they changed up what happens at the end of each Gate. Because, I mean, it's the same writer and director for both movies, but they kind of completely did different, I don't know how to describe it, different endings with a different, like, meaning behind it is what it feels like.
There's no meaning to this film. Like, nothing happened. Nothing that mattered aside from the dad getting injured. There's nothing permanent with this film. The only, like, I guess Liz's wish comes true. She meets her true love until the actor goes off and becomes an artist. But talk about that.
I mean, that might turn to shit too. Who knows?
Well, you know what, Curtis? Before we kind of get into the Lewis trip portion, where we do the deep dive there, what do you think of this film?
I think it's a great film. I think it's better than the first one.
You think so?
Yeah, personally, I think this story is more intriguing. The other one has a lot of like, oh my God, I have no idea what's really happening here kind of a situation. Gate is a great movie. But I think
Mhm.
Gate 2 to me is a little bit more fun. Even if it does have its campy moments or if actors are kind of hamming it up, I think it's got really good actors. Like John's character, his line delivery is perfect. He doesn't feel unnatural in most of his deliveries. And I absolutely hate his character, which is probably just a compliment to how good his performance is.
For Terry?
For John, the
Oh,
bad
for
guy.
John. Yeah.
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 Like he doesn't,
Yeah.
if anything, he's just acting and he's doing a really good job of it.
Fair. I did not like this film.
I know. We
I think
talked about
I think it's
this.
I think it's worth watching once. I would never watch it again. This movie's slow. It has a terrible climax. The special effects at the end I feel looked a little goofy. It's because of like the whole claymation thing with the monster. I thought the first movie looked a lot better. The minion to do the same stuff with. Aside from that, you have to but when you have John and Mo both transformed side by side, it looks just weird. And then Lewis kind of looks weird. I didn't really feel like this was something meant to be scary. This was more of a monkey's paw movie that kind of moved in this weird transformation scene at the end that didn't really work for it. I would have liked it if they kind of found a way to connect these things together a bit more, because there's no, I don't know, the first film there was a great explanation. There was just like a random demons kind of showing up. I feel like the progression was perfect. There was some actual horror in there, the sister getting harassed, everyone trying to, like, these demons killing the dog. I felt like that movie had a bit better purpose and reason for you to be terrified as an individual. This film just kind of felt like it was a fun ride. That's all it was. But in terms of like horror aspects, I wasn't really invested. Uh, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about Louis Tripp before we end. I know we used quite a bit of time to go through the movie itself. I wanted to talk about Louis. He's changed his name several times. It was Louis Tripp when he was younger, then it became Bath Tripp, Baph Tripp, and then he rumored to change his name to 1220, with L being the 12th letter in the alphabet, followed by T as the 20th, and now his name is BEMT. He has a website, xaos.ca. He lives in Melbourne, Australia. I don't know if that's current. The last time he's updated his website was in 2019. He is a musician, a horror author. He has one publication called Chodpa, which was a novelette published in Black Static, which I believe is a British kind of magazine. And then I don't know, like it's very bizarre, kind of where this guy's career has taken him, because he has a couple albums on his site. I don't know, man.
What else is
Check
he
him out.
doing film wise? Because I know the last time we looked at his IMDb, he did have a role coming up that he was working on, but we couldn't quite figure out what that role was. Did you have a chance to see what that might be?
I mean, I don't see anything, man. Like,
Okay.
the last thing, there's Sacrificed, where he plays Terry, and his name is X.A.O.S. His band name is his name. He's going to be in a short called Sacrifice, and it looks like he's reprising the role of Terry.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
I don't know when this is coming out. There's no information. It's just a short
Yeah. It's just got a potential date of 2020.
in Australia. I think it's worth checking him out if you ever want to just kind of go down the rabbit hole of see where are they now. And I don't know. Cautionary tale.
Sounds like Australia.
I don't know, man. I think my Louis Tripp rabbit hole has finally ended. I've dug in for far enough to be fully satisfied with where we've wound with this film. If we do get to the point of watching Sacrifice, I would not mind. It looks like it's a musical. Probably
Yeah.
his music.
I remember us talking about this a lot now last time
Yeah.
in the last episode, because we try to do, I think while we were recording, we tried to do a lot of like what is going on with Louis Tripp and what has he been up to, because we both were disappointed that he wasn't in a lot more, whereas Steven Dorff went on to have a really nice
Yeah.
career. And we were disappointed that Lewis Tripp didn't. So,
Well, there was an
very
interview
cool.
done with him by, I can't find it. It was done by John Squires, who is Freddy in Space in Twitter.
Okay.
If anybody finds that interview, I'd love to read it. Aside from that, I feel like book's closed, in a good place. Check out this movie when it comes out. We can have a conversation about it. Aside from that, Curtis says watch this movie. Clark says, you can miss it.
Yeah.
With that, I think, Curtis, do you have any fun facts and trivia for us, or should we go straight to the plug?
Nah, let's get to what have we been doing lately.
Oh, we could do that too, but yeah. Curtis, what have you been doing lately?
Umbrella Academy Season 1.
All
Wow. What a show.
Did you finish it?
Yeah, I finished Season 1 actually earlier today. Started Season 2, Episode 1. And I have to say, like, Season 1 was a lot of fun. Great character building. Definitely love all of the different characters and their powers and their nuances, and the relationships between the characters make me laugh a lot of times. My favorite character so far is Klaus. Yeah, I don't know if you haven't seen it, but you like superhero stuff, check it out. If you don't like superhero stuff, miss it, because that's really all it is. And
Hey.
yeah, I'm excited for Season 2. What have you been up to lately?
Oh man, what haven't I been up to? I just got back from Las Vegas. I went to visit some family. We had a good time, went on a hike. My family is pretty religious, so I got my niece got baptized, my nephew got blessed. So I gotta be there for that, and have some quality time with the family for things that matter to them, and gotta see some peacocks, gotta see some Canadian geese, gotta hang out with my little sweet niece. I had a good time.
That's awesome.
A really good time.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
I think
Very
so
cool.
too. Well, let's kind of get into the plug here. We're gonna real quick plug our Instagram and Twitter, which is the number 2 Guys Horror Pod. That is the number 2 Guys Horror Pod. And check us out. Curtis does a bunch of fun things on Twitter. He watches live movies and he'll have conversations with friends. He's also very, very connected to the Mutant fam, whereas I update our Instagram once a year. It's just check us out. That again, it's 2 Guys Horror Pod. And also feel free to email us if you have any comments or maybe questions or films you'd like us to watch. Or if you'd like to collaborate with us, feel free to reach out to us via the DMs on Twitter or Instagram. And our email is the word 2 guysandsamehorror@gmail.com. And again, that is 2 guysandsamehorror@gmail.com. With that, Curtis, do you have anything to say to these lovely folks?
Yeah, you know what? If you're feeling worried about how little you've achieved in life so far, just remember that Bram Stoker didn't write Dracula until he was 50, okay? So you got more than enough time to figure your stuff out.
50 was considered really old back then. Anyhow, folks, thank you for listening.